Welcome to Lighting the Educational Flame, created and produced by educator and author Mark Hoberman, owner and director of Grade Success Tutoring. Mark will be joined by Susan Brender, CEO and host of The Susan Brender Show. The purpose of this program is to offer our listeners a variety of stories dealing with many interesting topics surrounding education. It is our hope that students and parents alike will benefit from the wide range of topics, including study skills, test prep, anti-bullying, sports, music, and more. We hope you enjoy our show, Lighting the Educational Flame.
Hello and welcome to the talk show, Lighting the Educational Flame, brought to you by Grade Success Education. I'm Mark Hoberman and my co-host is Susan Brender. How's it going today, Susan?
Just fine, Mark.
We have a great guest today who not only excelled in NFL football, but also a career afterwards. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize that some lifespan in some of these sports is 7 to 12 years if you're lucky to stick it out that long with injuries and things of that nature. So we're definitely going to talk about that and his education and his journey in professional sports. So let's bring him on.
Okay.
Our guest today is former NFL star Emery Moorehead. Emery, welcome to Lighting the Educational Flame.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
So nice to have you. You know, there's always a journey and people really don't always know the story behind the glory. So tell us about your journey from childhood, high school, whatever, up to professional football. What did that look like?
Well, it was, I don't know, back then, you know, I played football in high school in the 70s. And back then there was no Pop Warner or anything like that.
Right.
So most of the kids that came into Evanston Township High School, a suburb of Chicago, coming freshman year was probably the first year we played organized football. And so that's a little different than the way it is today.
Sure.
But, you know, I played on a high school football team that won the state championship. We had several guys get scholarships, 5 got to go to Division I schools. I was high school, I actually played wide receiver, and our star halfback, who was a junior that year, broke his arm a week before the season started, and this would have been in 1971. And I got moved into the backfield, and we switched to the wishbone offense, which was just coming prominent as University of Texas had just won the national championship, running the wishbone. Oklahoma started running the wishbone. And it's kind of like these colleges today that pass all the time. It was a new thing, and eventually all colleges got to it. And anyway, I earned a scholarship to the University of Colorado in Boulder, and played there. We won the Big 8 championship. I captained that championship team, and got drafted by the New York Giants in the 6th round in 1977 draft. I played wide receiver and fullback there 3 years. Got traded to the Broncos in Denver and played wide receiver, but basically played every specialty. I had no catches that year. I played very little from scrimmage. And then a new coach came in, Dan Reeves. He released me. The Bears picked me up, and ended up playing special teams there for a whole year. So basically, 2 years of my professional career, I was doing anything they said to do to hang on to keep a check. And in Chicago, I ran back kickoffs and everything. And then in 1982, Mike Dicker came through the Bears. They moved me to tight end and ended up playing in the NFL another 7 years as a starting tight end for the Chicago Bears, including Super Bowl 20. So the moral of the story is, I guess you got to be versatile.
Yeah,
and you got to be ready to move when they say move, and take advantage of opportunities when they come your way.
Emery, I'd like to ask you, you know, it's a passion of so many young people to get into sports, and it's so darn competitive. And I want to understand, you know, we're dealing with a specific time right now, which is very different from the time that you were involved in your sport. But I want to understand, how does it feel looking at the situation where today football has a lot of different people, a lot of different immigrants, a lot of different people from all different ethnic backgrounds? Do you think that life is different today with regard to being African American than it was before for a sports person?
Well, I think for most African Americans, it's the only way if they can vision themselves as a way to get out to help their family legally. Something, when you make a football team or a basketball team at a professional level or a baseball team, it's life-changing for your whole family. It's generational change because when I played in the 70s, my first contract with the New York Giants, living in New York, was 28,000, 33,000 for the second year, 38,000.
Wow.
Today, the minimum salary for a football player that doesn't get drafted, walks in off the street, makes the team, the minimum for that player is 610,000. So it's generational changes that are happening. And if you get drafted and get one of those $1 million contracts, and it can be just it's life changing.
Sure.
So it's a lot of different things. A lot of kids look at that and think it's an easy road, but it's not an easy road. Today, I think there are about 1,700 professional football players in the United States. Now, they do have what they call a taxi squad or a secondary squad where people are able to stay on the team. And they make, I don't know, they make about 100,000. And they basically are there to help the guys practice. So that the starters don't have to be on the field all the time and practice. But if somebody goes down, then they get to come on to the actual team, and then their salary is prorated. So it's a lot of opportunity there. But also, you mentioned that there are a lot of people from all different walks that are in this game right now. One of my teammates, Ron Rivera, he was a linebacker on the Bears. He was the head coach of the Carolina Panthers for 10 years. And now he's the head coach of the Washington Redskins. He's Hispanic. I go to a camp in Europe every year called the American Bowl Football Camp. And there are like kids that are from 15 to 30, 35 that are there learning American football. So it's taken off all over the world. And in fact, they have over 70 teams in Europe playing not 70 teams, I'm sorry, 70 different leagues playing American football all over Europe. So it's a worldwide phenomenon now. That probably with the growth of the Super Bowl over the years being broadcast all over has really helped to grow. And of course, years ago, well, not years ago, but probably 10, 15 years ago, there was an American League that helped spur that growth as the NFL put teams in Barcelona, they had them in London, they had them all over Europe, and they're trying to get growth for the sport. And I think that triggered a lot of those European leagues playing up all over.
Yeah. Mark, I'm interested in knowing from your standpoint, you worked with a lot of high school kids, and it is a very prestigious thing if you're a football player, and you kind of have the opportunity to kind of get girls. All right. Now, when you were a teacher and you saw all these football players and the women who were attracted to them, did you think that it was a good thing that they were doing football, or did you feel that they were avoiding their studying? So is it a good mix? Can high school students really be able to mix their ability to play and also learn?
Well, it's a loaded question because it really depends on the person. If you can make it a good mix, I mean, I've had a former student, Phil Bogle, played for 3 years with the Philadelphia Eagles. And when you talk about the money in the contract, it was only X number of years ago that he became a player for 3 years. But I was very encouraged that he said that they had to sit down with a financial planner because they knew that people went from no money to 300,000 or whatever the number was. And people like him made it a great mix. There were also people I've educated, especially in the school district I was in, where I could tell you that they wouldn't have been able to go to college were it not for the sport they played. And it afforded them that. So like anything else, if you're going to take advantage of it, if you're going to be in a sport because you think that sport is a chick magnet, for lack of a better term,
Right.
it really depends on the person. And what I really want to ask Emery in that vein is really for our young people who are viewing the show, is that I know you were captain of your college football team. And what attributes were needed for you to be an effective leader?
Well, a lot of times, the captain can lead by example. Putting in the work in the off season, putting in the work in the weight room, making the plays on the field, encouraging guys when they get down. These are all things that are part of leadership. And in a football field, it's a lot different than, say, in business or something like that. But a lot of things do roll over in leadership roles, and that because when you're playing on the team, you're not depending on just yourself. Especially in football, when you have 11 guys on offense or 11 guys on defense, if one guy is out of position, then that hurts the whole team. So the teamwork aspect, I think, rolls over a lot once you get out of the sport, and that you're willing to sacrifice sometimes in order for the best of the team. Now, I mentioned I played a lot of positions in football. And those are sacrifices you make for the better of the team, and a lot of times that happens in business. But I think that nowadays a lot of kids are much more prepared, educational wise. Most all these kids graduate from college now, unless they're coming out early, or unless you're like a football factory like in Alabama, where while you're there, you're playing football. You're probably not going to be working for IBM or somebody like that. Your goal is to get to the National Football League. But once you get to that league, like previously stated, there are programs available to athletes. Same thing with the NBA or other leagues. But they want to make sure if you didn't graduate from college, that you have an opportunity to go back. And the National Football League Players Association, which is the union for the NFL players, they have all kind of programs to help people adjust to get through the transition of especially after you're done. Instead of saying you're retired, you're making the transition for the rest of your life, because the average number of years played in the National Football League is about 3.2. So basically, you're getting out of there and you're under 26 years old, and you have the rest of your life to figure out what you want to do. So unless you're Tom Brady and you're playing until you're 40,
Yeah,
43
exactly.
years,
That's few and far between.
Emery and Mark, today we're living in a very, very strange time, a very strange time. It's really a traumatic kind of experience that everybody is facing right now. And they talk on television a lot about unity, okay, about equity, about the fact that there is, we're living in a divisive kind of society now. Now, what I really believe is that when you're in a sport like football, it unites people, doesn't it?
Well, it does, because you can't, when I played the 85 Chicago Bears, we had all kinds of people.
Yep.
I mean, we had defensive tackle from the University of Texas that was just crazy and wild. And we had Dan Hampton, All-American from the University of Arkansas. We had players that had different backgrounds. And when you have to play on when you want to play on a team, it doesn't matter where that guy is from.
Right.
As long as that guy got your back, you got his back. That's what team is all about. And so there is a lot of unity in team sports. Now, as far as being divisive, the United States is divisive. I mean, you will see, there are so many things that divide our country right now. I think that's why people get upset when athletes like LeBron James speak up, because it's the one thing that they have that they don't, they don't want to hear an athlete speak up about equal rights, because it's in the face all day, every day. And it's really come to fruition here in 2020 with all the Black Lives Matter. But it's really also kind of exciting to see people from all walks of life pick up the banner and recognize the fact that all is not equal like they have been taught. And it's really opening up a lot of eyes for a lot of young people. And it kind of reminds me back when I was, growing up in the 60s and 70s. It opened a lot of eyes to people to see how unfair African Americans are getting treated today in a similar situation. It doesn't work both ways.
Right. Well, great advice to our young people and about unity. But I want to bring up that you hear so many stories about young athletes being told that after sports they need something to fall back on. And before we brought you on, I was talking to Susan that some people, think a career is 20, 30 years. Well, not in professional sports, and certainly not when football is that sport. So I know that after your football career, you became involved in real estate. So what was that transition like?
Okay, well, I was in my ninth year in 1985 playing in the National Football League. In 1985, we won the Super Bowl. So right after that season, I told myself, I said, look, you're in the league 9 years. Nobody's played in this game forever. You only got a few more years left. So I got my real estate license that off season. And
Great.
so I played 3 more years. I sold in the off season. But then when I finally retired after 12 years, that Sunday, that last game, that Monday, I already had a desk in the office and I went in there full time. And I sold for 28 years.
Wow.
So, that was a kind of a plan because if you don't go to work, you end up spending all your money
Correct.
trying to live like you're still a professional athlete. And I'm on a board of directors for the Gene Upshaw Player Assistance Trust. And it's called underneath the Professional Athletes Foundation. And we get money. It's kind of crazy, but our foundation gets money from NFL players that are fined during the week in the game. Half of the money, and they keep half of the money, but they fund us.
Yep.
It's to the tune of about $2 million a year.
Hmm.
And what we do is when players are down and out and they need a lifeline, we'll form a lifeline up to $15,000. They can come back 2 or 3 times a year apart, and but we also give them counseling to try to give them the guidance so that they can not come back to us. And a lot of times, when we get these things with the older guys, like myself, my age, my generation, they're there for deductibles on medical issues. But the young guys, believe it or not, that are making millions of dollars, they go through a lot of money very quickly, trying to keep up with a top player on the team that might be making 15 million or 20 million, and they're making 600, but they want to act like they're an NFL player making that kind of money, and before you know it, they're out of money. They go out and watch, MTV, what's the name of that series with the houses? The big houses, and they want to get a big house. They want to have 2, 3, 4 cars.
Yep.
And you zoom right through all your money, and before you know it, you're knocking on our doors for a little $15,000 to help you pay some bills while you get your life fixed. So also goes along with that is counseling, financial counseling, all kinds of things to help these guys get back on their feet.
Emery, who was your hero? There must be somebody who you thought was like amazing. I mean, you think about people like Muhammad Ali, you think about, and this is an interesting thing. You think about some of the golf players, and I'm talking about, and you have to tell me because I can't think of his name, but there you go. He was in an accident, and we don't know what the outcome is, but I really let's not talk about him. Let's just talk about your hero, because I think if it's a hero that children and parents are going to say, I wonder why, and really, get a lot of respect for that person, because probably you have that kind of respect.
Well, when I was growing up in the 60s, growing up in Chicago, I was a huge Cub fan, living on the north side. And Ernie Banks was everybody's hero, black, white, Hispanic. Ernie Banks was the guy because he really got along with everybody. He was always happy to play baseball every day. And of course, his famous thing was, let's play 2 today. It's a great day for baseball.
Right.
And so he was just a great guy that really, brought everybody together. And in those days, the Cubs were like, they were horrible. But Ernie always had the optimistic view of it's going to be better today and the Cubs are going to win today. And so he was really an idol. My second idol, which is, easily because we were also bad during those days were the Chicago Bears. And when we play out in the playground and the fields, if you were on offense, you were Gale Sayers. And if
Yeah,
you were
of
on
course.
defense, you were Dick Butkus. And
Right.
so two guys was everybody's heroes
Yep,
growing up.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you retired from real estate now too. So there's two amazing careers that you excelled at. So what's next for Emery Moorehead?
Well, this year, of course, was a very
Oh,
down year with COVID. We didn't do a lot of golf tournaments, personal appearances, autograph sessions. Those are the
right.
kind of things that the 1985 Bears still are, is very much demand because of the Bears have not won a Super Bowl since.
Sure.
And, you're really looking at a couple generations since the Bears won.
Sure.
In fact, my son has won a Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts when they played the Chicago Bears in 2007.
Wow.
So that tells you how long it's been since the
Sure.
Bears have won the Super Bowl. And I'm kind of pulling for them guys to somehow get it together because it's been long enough for the Bears
Absolutely.
not to win, and the fans want it badly. But it's, as my fellow players say, the '85 Bears is still the gift that keeps on giving.
You're right.
And the guys
Yep.
in Chicago make a lot of money doing appearances, speaking engagements, and just being a Chicago Bear from 1985.
Sure.
There's probably, I'd say, 15 guys still living in Chicago.
Wow. And where is that Super Bowl ring?
Actually, it's in Chicago, and I'm in Colorado right now. But I'm going home in a couple of weeks, so
Great.
I'm going to grab it again.
Well, it's an amazing accomplishment. So few ever hit that level. So Emery, Susan and I can't thank you enough for joining us today and sharing your incredible story with us. I really appreciate you being here. And to the viewers, remember to reach out to us on social media. Look for Grade Success on Facebook and Twitter. We'd love to hear from you, and you can find me, Mark Hoban, on LinkedIn. Again, thanks to NFL great and real estate great, Emery Moorehead, for being with us today. And Susan, as always, thank you. And the viewers, don't forget to tune in to our next show. This is Mark Hoban thanking you for watching Lighting the Educational Flame. Have a great day. Emery, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Lighting the Educational Flame with Mark Hoberman. To contact Mark, email him at info@gradesuccess.com.